Monica by Dan Clowes came out this past week to tremendous amount of fanfare and hype. This book, I think, took 7 years for Clowes to write. He got write-ups in the New York Times and major magazines. Dan Clowes has a legion of fans. They've been following him since the days that he was doing his one-man anthology, 8 Ball. He's influenced a ton of cartoonists, and he is one of the best cartoonists, American cartoonists at least, alive today. Now, I really didn't start reading Dan Clowes until about 4 years ago. And so in that time, I've read a lot of his work. I've read Danny Boring, The Death Ray, Ghost World, Ice Haven, Patience, Poussey, which is one of my favorites, and now Monica. So I've read a lot of his work, and I find his work very good, but I'm not one of these like super Clowes fanboys and fangirls that, and it's not because of any other reason than, I've read the book, but I haven't had like 20, 30 years of following them and have all that hype. I haven't been along for the ride. I just caught them more at the tail end of that ride. And I was really going to hold off on getting this because I had just bought a lot of comics and I have a lot of graphic novels that are coming out within the next month. And I was like, well, I got a lot to read, but found this on sale. To be honest with you, I found this on sale. I had found a gift card that I had, and I said, well, it's going to be very little cost to me, so let me just pick it up now while I can and get a good price for it. And and I'll read it. I started picking it up, and I have to say that despite all that, this is a really excellent graphic novel. When I picked it up, it was $30. It's a handsome book. It's well made, and I remember thinking, oh, you only have like about 100 or so pages, actually 108. It's like, oh boy, I hope I'm getting enough comic for my money. And I have to say that this book, I wouldn't say it's dense. Maybe it's condensed, or maybe not condensed. That's a bad word. I would say it's all meat, no filler. To use a film analogy, this is like Casablanca. Casablanca is a 90-minute film. To me, it's like the perfect film. There's no wasted dialogue. There's no wasted scenes. Everything's explained. Everything is just edited and shot right and acted perfectly. The music cuts in at the right time. It's just perfectly put together. And I would say that that analogy I would apply to this book. So when you open it up, the end papers show, and you realize this is planet Earth later on, just early in the formation, and all there is lava and volcanic activity, not really anything. And then over the next 2 pages, there's about 20 panels that chronicles the point in time from where there was amoeba and protozoa, and then you had creatures that learned to walk on land, to the dinosaurs, to the times of the Egyptians and the pharaohs, to the crucifixion of Jesus Christ, World War I, World War II, the atomic bomb, and then mention of rock and roll, Sputnik, the assassination of JFK, and then you stop at the Beverly Hillbillies. And for those of you that aren't familiar with it, this was a sitcom that was in the late 60s, early 70s. So it's funny that you have all these major events, and then to give you a timestamp, you stop at a sitcom, Beverly Hillbillies. And you have to be of a certain age to have seen this, even on, because I saw this on reruns, but I mean, this is like something that you would see on MeTV. And so you go through, and I just want to remark that I don't know what quality paper they use, but this is really nice, thick, great paper. This whole entire book physically is high quality. Now, there's 9 chapters here, and the 9 chapters don't tie together linearly, but they all relate to each other. And the main character, Monica, most of the chapters deal with her, and this chapter indirectly deals with her. It starts off, these 2 GIs are in Vietnam, and they're just talking, and in the background you hear a boom, and then you hear another boom, and they're having this conversation about life and getting back home and all this other stuff. And as they talk, you see the sound effects more machine gun fire and more explosions, until they're just casually, they're so anesthetized to all this. This guy puts on his helmet, and he's like, okay, it's ready to go. And then, next chapter, Penny, who is the mother of Monica, who's an interesting backstory as well. And I thought that this dedication page was interesting because he, instead of dedicating the book to someone or persons, this is just in memoriam, the people that have died that Dan Clowes knew during the making of this book. So this book introduces a lot of characters. There's a lot of great character work and cues for the time as far as what's the dress, the things in the background. Like here you could tell this is like early 70s just by the boots with that type of mini skirt. There's some fast forward, there's some time, talking about, there's a lot of use of flashbacks, but not too much. There's a lot of symbolism, I'm sure, that's here that maybe readers, longtime readers of Dan Clowes will pick up on. There's also things that I think are meant to be a little obscure. This is not something that Clowes is really giving up a lot about, and there's a lot of, I bet you can get like 10 people to read this book and get 10 different reactions or 10 different insights. One will pick up on certain things, the other one won't. And then there's also homages to like EC type of horror stories. And it's interesting because, the pages here are nice and white, but then here for this story, which is like an EC horror story that takes place in the past, the pages are yellowed intentionally. The art's a little different. The coloring's a little different. And then you go back to white. This maybe could be like Enid's from Ghost Will's like older self. I'm not saying it is. It's not, it's not Enid, but it could look like her. So there's like a lot of little cues and homages that are here in this book, and I don't want to spoil it. This is a rather kind of creepy, supernatural type of time, and then the return of certain characters that you saw earlier, but later in time. There's just a lot here. Again, this is one of those pages pages are yellowed. Now the pages are white. So it's really just a fascinating use of the medium. And like I said, this book is all meat, no filler. Dan Clowes is one of the greatest cartoonists in America, and they spent 7 years making this book, and this book does not disappoint. It's just really very well done. This book bears repeated readings. I read it once. I know I missed a few things, and there's a few things that are open to interpretation as far as what symbolism they're talking about or how you can understand it. But the story is fairly straight ahead. And I just have to say, it's great. And I know a lot of people are going to say, hey, this is book of the year. This is book of the year. It's October, so I really don't know what the book of the year will be. But this will probably win a lot of book of the year awards because it's been highly anticipated. It's Dan Clowes. It's excellent. The other book that I've read, and there's other books that I haven't read, but the one that I've read that I thought also would be a good competitor for this would be The Blood of the Virgin. And I would say that this will probably have a higher likelihood of winning awards because this is a little bit more accessible in a way. Again, I use the analogy of Casablanca, where there's a lot of layers and a lot of things in that movie, but when you first see it, it's pretty easy to follow along. Where The Blood of the Virgin is maybe like a Christopher Nolan film, and I love Christopher Nolan, but there's a lot there. It's a longer film. There's a lot of intricate pieces, but it's still an excellent, outstanding film. But I think if you're looking at two of the best books that came out this year, as far as long form graphic novels, those are it. But this does not disappoint. I knew I would like it, but I didn't think I would really be as impressed as I was, just from a sheer master of craft type of feeling. Like you're reading this, and you're like, man, I mean, I know Dan Clowes knows what he's doing, but damn, He really knows what he's doing. Just a great book. This is one of the few books that lives up to the hype, in my opinion. Anyway, read it. You're going to have different things that are going to hit you, or things that you're going to say, well, I think he's talking about this, talking about that. And I think that's a fascinating part of this book too, that you can have conversations about this book and agree on some things, and then some things you can just actually have for discussion. Again, it's just a great, excellent graphic novel. If it's not the best, it's got to be one of the top 2 or 3 of the year. I haven't read everything, so I can't say it's the absolute best, and it's also based on taste. But it's really good. Like I said, it lives up to the hype, and I don't think anyone will be disappointed. Thanks.